肖校长热烈的掌声。
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
On behalf of Iscle University, the hosting institution, I'd like to extend my warm welcome to all of you to the fourth International School Chinese Language Education and Workshop. There are over 180 participants traveling from 21 countries to join this conference. Welcome. Iscle University is a comprehensive university. Currently, we have 9 colleges, ranging from engineering, College of Communication Design Management, also College of Medicine, and Aboriginal College, also a very special college called International College. Currently, we have 3 colleges now accredited by ACSB that include College of Management, College of Tourism and Hospitality, and International College. So this accreditation made us one of the top business schools in the world. Our university is supported by United Group, which is among the top ranked stainless steel company in the world. And of course, now this business is extended to like the Iscle Hospital and so on. So we have very good collaboration with industry. Another special feature of our university is quite internationalized. Our university currently have over 17,000 students. Among them, about 2,300 students are from 49 countries. So our university is a quite internationalized university. So we welcome our guests to have collaboration with us. Especially recently, our university is very popular for attracting Hong Kong students. Currently, we have over 500 students from Hong Kong. So we would like to especially welcome the collaboration from Hong Kong University. I thank the University of Hong Kong and the National Kaohsiung Normal University for supporting this event as a hosting institution. And I also would like to thank our colleagues from the National Affairs Office and also from other departments for supporting this event. I think this is a very important event for international Chinese language education. I hope all of you enjoy the meeting and also enjoy your stay in our campus and also in Kaohsiung. Kaohsiung is a harbor city with over 3 million population. I hope you not only enjoy the meeting, but also when you have time, don't forget to visit our Iscle World. Okay, which is I think the largest outlet mall in Asia. Okay, I hope you enjoy the meeting and have good health and happiness. Thank you very much.
谢谢肖校长。
Thank you, President Shah.
接下来欢迎一所大学国际与两岸事务处顾问 问 Anna Lin 致辞。
Next, let's now welcome Dr. Anna Lin, Consultant in Internationalization, Office of International and Cross-Strait Affairs of Iscle University, to give us conference welcome remarks.
President Shaw, Vice President Lee, Professor Tan, distinguished guests, conference participants, ISU and IIS colleagues, good morning. First, the organizing committee would like to extend our warmest welcome to all Iscle participants. The full name is the 4th International School Chinese Language Conference, Chinese Language Education Conference and Workshop. The name is really long, 7 words, so I would like to propose that I will call it as Iscle Conference from now. And this year, the Iscle Conference, the theme of the conference is Unpacking Global Literacy and Multiple Texts. A moment ago, President Shaw also mentioned that we have 180 participants from the schools and the universities from 21 countries. This is when I first heard about this. I was quite surprised as well when I looked at the special demographics that we have. So altogether, there are 19 workshop leaders and 29 presenters for this conference. We have invited keynote speakers from the US, from Singapore, and also from Taiwan. As reflected in the name of the conference as Workshop, Conference, and Workshop, you can see that the event has become a venue for researchers from higher education, and as well as for practitioners who are those like administrators and also teachers from international schools. They come over to share their experiences and also exchange their perspectives. With this unique special demographics here, one of the major goals of this conference is to reduce the gap between research and practice. So this year marks an important year for us as we start to organize officially our Iscle organizing committee. There are 3 types of committee members in our organizing committee. The first one is founding, second is advisory, and the third type is nominating committee members. So please allow me this time to introduce our committee members here. The first type of founding committee members, Dr. Chun, I call him CC Chun, from National Normal University. Then Dr. Elizabeth Kailo from the University of Hong Kong. And I myself, Anna Lin from Iscle University. Then we have 2 advisory committee members. They aren't able to be here, but 生就了。So this is a major drive, probably that we gather here together for the best education to be given to our young generation. I wish that you find this conference this year to be interactive, fun, and also inspiring. And I see you all around throughout the conference. Thank you.
本阶段将会有研讨会的第2场专题演讲。我们很荣幸邀请到香港大学罗嘉怡博士为我们介绍专题讲者。欢迎罗博士。
This will be the sessions for our second keynote speech of the conference. We would like to invite Dr. Kai Lo to introduce our keynote speaker. Let's welcome Dr. Lo.
Gentlemen, good morning, colleagues. And it is our great honor to have Professor Kathy Short as our keynote speaker. And I think she's so famous that everyone should know her. And I would like to introduce some of her background, because this is my job. And she's the professor in the program of the Language, Reading and Culture at the University of Arizona, and worked extensively with teachers to develop a curriculum that actively involves students as readers and inquirers. Her work focuses on global children's and adolescents' literature, dialogue, curriculum, as entirely and in the cultural understanding. She has co-authored many books, and which are very useful, including the critical content analysis of children's and young adult literature and essentials of young adult literature, and many more. She is the director of Worlds of Words, which aims to build bridges across global cultures through children's literature, and served as president of the U.S. National Section of the International Board of Books for Young People and the National Council of Teachers of English. She was named the 2011 Outstanding Educator of the Language Arts by the National Council of Teachers of English and served as various book award committees, including the Caldecott Medal. Let's welcome Professor Short.
Thank you so much for the welcome. I really have been enjoying my week here in Taiwan. My focus is really on how do we open the world for children. And there are many, children today, all of our children live in an interconnected world. That world is connected by the internet, by global mobility, and our lives and our children's lives, both personally and professionally, are going to really depend on the ability to have global knowledge and intercultural understanding. So I think there are many, many ways that we can help children develop those global perspectives. And I'm going to argue that all children need those perspectives, whether they live their entire lives in one small community and never move around the world. They still, their success, both personally and professionally, is going to depend on an ability to understand the broader world. While there are many, many ways that I think children can come to know about the world, through technology, through studies of world languages, through exchange programs, my passion is around literature. So what I'm going to talk with you today is about critical issues in global literacy and literature, with a major focus on global literature. What I'm going to try to do is to move back and forth between talking about broad trends in terms of global literature and what's happening in terms of a broader publication of literatures that reflect many, many different global cultures, and your specific context, which is thinking about the kinds of materials that you can use to teach Chinese language learners. And the availability of what I want to argue is the significance of finding authentic books, authentic literature, in order to invite children into Chinese culture and language, rather than only using it as textbooks. So, I want to tell you just briefly about my context, and then I want to talk, as I said, about global literature. So, as she mentioned, I have the University of Arizona, which is in Tucson, Arizona, and my location is very close to the border with Mexico. So we're about a 30, 40-minute drive from Mexico, and therefore it's always been a highly bilingual community. It's also a community that's desert. So we live in the Sonoran Desert, which is the only desert in the world that has the large saguaro cactus with the big arms. But it's, as you can tell, it's also a mountainous desert. We're surrounded on all four sides by mountains. And what's interesting about Tucson is that, well, as I've mentioned, we've always been a bilingual community because of being so close to the border, and also because of the university. We've had many international students from many parts of the world. In the last 7 to 8 years, Tucson has become a refugee location, so that it is now not uncommon to find anywhere from 20 to 40 languages in our public schools, which is a very unusual situation for us because, while we're very used to bilingual, when you have that many languages, you've got another issue that you're focusing on thinking about. And our struggle has been how to maintain and honor the child's mother tongue, even though none of us speak it often. At the same time, helping them immerse themselves in English in order to survive and cope in the Tucson environment, but without sacrificing their mother tongue, their home language. And that's been a real tension. My particular context, she mentioned that I have a center. It's called Worlds of Words. And Worlds of Words is both a physical center and an online presence. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. It's a collection. We are a facility, an initiative, a center that focuses on how to use global literature as a way to encourage intercultural understanding. So we have a collection of 40,000 books that are set in different global contexts around the world. We also do all kinds of professional development and outreach into schools. With language and culture book kits. We also have a big online presence through wildlit.org with lots of resources on that site to encourage for teachers to use, including book reviews of global literature, a journal of wow stories, which are vignettes from classroom teachers about how they use the books in their classroom, and a searchable database. So that initiative is one that I'm very passionate about, and one where I spend a lot of time really thinking about the role of literature. And that's what I want to talk a little bit to frame what I'm going to share with you. I want to argue why I think literature is so important, and why I want to encourage you to think more about how you can bring authentic literature, authentic books, into the work that you're doing with children and teens, as I said, and not just the textbook. One is that's most important for me is that I think often what we offer children as we talk about the world is what I would call a tourist view of the world. And a tourist view is when you get a little bit of information about different countries, different cultures, but it all stays on the surface. You don't really understand the deep values and beliefs that lie at the heart of that. So what I think literature offers for readers, for us as adults as well as for children, is the chance to immerse ourselves into a story world. And it's a world that's set in another place, another culture, another way of thinking and feeling. And we're able to think and feel and act alongside someone from that culture. And that's very different than getting a piece of information about a culture. We really get a sense of how, through the story world, how that character feels and thinks and lives. It also allows us then to develop some kind of empathy and emotional connection, and to get a sense of how we connect. Even though that the character we're reading about is from a completely different culture than our own, we can see how we connect as human beings, as well as what makes that person unique, and come to value that cultural difference as well as that cultural humanity. So I think what literature can do is to build a bridge of understanding across cultures. And it can allow children to come to know their own home culture as well as the global culture they're reading about. So I think it's hard sometimes to see our own cultures as a culture until we encounter other ways of living and thinking, and then we go, oh, I believe something different. So I grew up in the Midwest in the United States, in kind of Ohio, Indiana, and I saw myself as pretty blah, just sort of typical American, until I moved to the Southwest. And then suddenly there were all these expectations that I had that were cultural beliefs that I didn't realize were cultural beliefs. One is just a difference in time and how time is, perceptions of time. So for example, coming from the Midwest and coming from a rural area of the Midwest, if you're invited to someone's house for dinner at 6 o'clock, that means that dinner will be served at 6 o'clock. You better be there. You better be there before that because it's going to be served. In Tucson, if somebody the first time somebody invited me to dinner and they told me to come at 6 and I showed up at 6, they answered the door and looked at me like, why are you here? I'm like, it's 6. And I realized that people weren't going to start showing up. If you say 6, people don't start showing up till at least 7. And dinner's not going to be till 8 or maybe 9. So I was very inappropriate. And I very quickly adjusted my behavior. But it was a value that I brought that came from, that I didn't realize was a cultural value until I moved to a different place. So I think that's also true for our children. That as they read about other cultures, they not only learn about those cultures, they also come to see, oh, this is what I believe, and this is how that's different. The other thing about literature is that I think it's a way for us to see how people of the world view themselves, not just how we view them. So as we read these stories set in different places, particularly stories from people from within those cultures, it's that we're really getting their perspective on the world. And then finally, I think that this literature, and this is where it's most relevant for you today, that it's a source of incredible, authentic language materials that reflect the culture. And because you're concerned not only with teaching the language, but teaching the culture. And what I find often in textbooks is that they convey generic culture instead of, there's not just a Chinese culture, right? There's many different kinds of Chinese cultures depending on the particular region and country and particular family, and books reflect that diversity. I worked with a couple of graduate students who are looking, who are using children's books and short chapter books, picture books, as well as short children's novels in college level beginning language instruction. So in teaching Spanish, for example, realizing that when the students just read the textbooks, they're getting very controlled language. They're not getting language as it actually occurs. And that adult novels, of course, in that language are way too difficult. But novels written for children are often ones that get them into the dialogue and into much more than natural language that they can use in their university courses as a way to introduce language. So, the other thing that books can do is to convey perspectives on language learning. And yesterday I was sitting in a session and this book came to my mind because I think it conveys a particular perspective about language learner and about how sometimes we might negatively view someone who doesn't speak our language. So this is a book from Canada, and it's called Norman Speak, and it's about a family who goes to a shelter to get a dog for the family. And they find this dog they love, they call him Norman, and the problem with Norman is he just appears to not be very bright. So, the boy tries to get Norman to speak, he tries to get Norman to sit, he tries to get Norman to roll over, and Norman just don't do anything. Norman just, kind of comes and wags his tail. And so the family says, well, we love him anyways. He's not very bright, but we love him anyways. And so one day the family is at a park, and a gentleman is in the park, and he has this dog, and he speaks to his dog in Chinese. And all of a sudden, Norman starts running and speaking and sitting and doing all of these things, and the family realizes that Norman wasn't stupid or not very bright. Norman just spoke a different language, understood a different language. So Norman understood Chinese, but he wasn't understanding any of the English commands. What I find really interesting about this book is that the family does not then go to teach Norman English, the family goes and takes lessons in Chinese so they can speak to the book. That's a value statement to say your language matters and I'll learn your language, not just expect you to learn mine. It's a very humorous look at language, but one that I thought conveys some particular perspectives. So as I talk today, I'm going to use the term global literature, and I want to just make a distinction between global literature and international literature. Global literature is any book that's set in a global culture, no matter who the author is. So the author might be from outside of that culture, inside that culture, might be somebody who just visited, somebody who's lived there their entire lives. As long as the book is set in a global setting, it's considered global literature. When the term international literature is used, it means that the book originally or originated from within that particular culture. So it was a book that was originally written and published for children from that culture, whether you're talking about Malaysia or you're talking about Canada, is the book I just shared, but it was written for children from that particular place by an author from that particular global culture. And then it's been translated and published in other countries. And these books are a subset of global literature. So as I'm talking, when I use the two terms, I just want you to know what I mean by them. So I'm going to be talking about, in this presentation, about 4 different issues that I see with global literature. One is the issue of availability. What books are actually available for our use? And I want to talk about the range of kinds of books that are available. The second thing I'm going to talk about is access. So just because a book is available doesn't mean that you have a way to access that book or know how to find it. The third thing that I want to talk about is the whole issue of accuracy, authenticity, and representation. So you found a book, you found a book, you found a set of books and you're using them. One of the concerns has to be, is this really an authentic depiction of the culture and of that particular global community, or is there something problematic? And I'm not arguing that if a book is problematic, that we should not use it, because usually books reflect our societal perspective. So if a book is problematic, to me that just means we need to critique that book with children, not use it. And the last thing is actual use with children. One of the things that I'm really aware of as we talk about global literature is that